Hello, how are you doing? Hi, Dad.
Very well indeed. And you?
I'm all right, thank you. So let me just start by introducing the event. So welcome to everybody. Welcome to Quiet Revelations from Fabrica. I am Lorenza Ippolito, and this is my dad, Antonio. I facilitate conversation piece, which is run by Fabrica, in Brighton. During this time, we're moving our programs online, taking them directly to your homes, as we believe art plays a vital role in bringing our communities closer together. And we will continue to do so in these uncertain times. So following in the spirit of Quiet Revelations, I recently discovered my father as a child was ill with Asian flu in 1957, is that right?
Correct.
So join us for a chat about my dad's experience of Asian flu in Italy in the 50s and memories that can give us some perspective on our experience today. Did you like that? Did you like the introduction?
Very much indeed. Very professional.
Oh, thank you. So should I start by sharing the screen so we can see some pictures of you as a young child?
Just a baby.
So there. Do you remember that?
Yes, in fact, more than 60 years ago.
60 years ago, wow.
More than that, 63 years ago.
How old were you in this photo?
I was 9 years old in those days.
It's a very nice picture, isn't it? It's very playful. Do you want to tell us? Yeah. Do you want to tell us something about the house or where you were at the time? Tell us a bit about 1957 in Italy.
Okay, in that during that year, myself and my family, we were in Forlì because my father was in the army, and we used to move from one city to the other quite often. So we landed in Forlì in 1956, and we moved out in 1962. Forlì is a nice middle-sized city in Romagna.
Where is Romagna, more or less? Do you mind?
Romagna is the area of Rimini, Ravenna.
I think I have a map. I prepared a map last night. Look,
okay,
I'm really
very
prepared.
good. You can show it.
So Forlì is just over here. This is just...
Is east of the red dot.
Yeah, over here.
The red dot is Bologna.
Just over
and
here?
Forlì is just 64 kilometers east of Bologna, towards the Adriatic coast.
That's precise. You even know 64.
Yeah, 60, I did it many times, because my father very often had to report to the command of the division, the divisional command, and he used to take me from Forlì to Bologna, and while he was at the command with the top general army, he used to drop me in a latteria in the old part of Bologna. So I was waiting there that he was finished with his business, and then he took me for a nice lunch in the old Bologna, which I still remember, at the Tre Frecce. That was a restaurant where all the students used to go, and was very, very charming and full of joy, that restaurant. I still remember as it was today.
That sounds lovely. So let's go back to this little picture of this little guy here. So so tell me a bit more about Asian flu. So what do you remember about?
Well, I have to say also it was not as bad as what we went through now in the last 2-3 months with the coronavirus, but still was quite serious in 1957. And there were many casualties, unfortunately.
Really?
My family was quite lucky, and I suppose we had a light one, because no one of us was really seriously sick. We had temperature, we had to stay at home in bed, but we didn't feel so sick, unfortunately. And then every second day, the doctor used to come to visit us to see that everything was under control. And I must say that for me was more a school holiday than a sickness.
Fair enough. Who was sick in your family? Like,
well, there was my mother and my 3 brothers. So there were 5 people altogether, yes. Okay. My father didn't catch any and used to go, as usual, to the caserme every day to work the caserme at the regiment.
Okay, oh great. And what did you used to do? You know, what could a child in 1957 do?
Well, most of the time I was reading. I had a nice biblioteca in Forlì.
You mean library?
Library, where I used to take every week a couple of books to read. And then, as you can see, I even used to read the newspaper.
Wow.
And then we were 4 brothers, and we had some toys and jokes to do all together. We had, how do you say in English? Not tombola, because that was for Christmas, but we have Mencergete nicht, Uomo non ti arrabbiare. That so was
like
an Austrian one. Yeah, because our grandparents, the parents of my mother, they used to live in Austria, and they fed us with all these Austrian toys and games, which we played in Forlì all the time. So that was actually the day, basically playing all together and reading when we were sick of playing.
So, and you managed to play even if you had the flu? Were you you didn't feel kind of?
Yeah, as I said, we were not hurt so toughly. I think we had a light one, a light Asiatica.
And it's very impressive that you have a newspaper there. You know, a 9-year-old reading the newspaper. I think in England it's unheard of, or you know, maybe.
Well, that was the Resto del Carlino, and which is an old newspaper here in Emilia and Romagna, in Bologna, in Forlì area. I was reading also about the Asiatic flu on the newspaper, what was going on all over Italy. So that was also a reason I was reading the newspaper.
So you were interested in it?
Yeah. So I could talk with my brothers and so on what was going on. So we stayed updated.
Oh, that's great. So, and what are you've got a cat and a dog. I don't know anything about these pets. You never talk about them. Who are they?
Yeah, that is Pucci is the dog, and Ducci is the cat.
Okay.
The cat, I don't remember him so well. I don't think he had a strong personality, but the dog, definitely I remember him as today, had a very strong personality, and he ruled the family in actual fact. Really? I found him on the street, in the little hole in the street. He was very, very little, young. Then he grew a little bit, but when I saw him the first time, was really a puppy, a handful doggy, and I didn't feel too easy to take him at home because I was scared about the reaction of my mother. So for a couple of days, I kept him in the cellar, and I was feeding him in the cellar. Then after a few days, I took together all my courage, and I brought him upstairs in the flat, and I played a theatrical scene that I wanted a little dog and so on. So my mother was moved, and she accepted the little dog. Oh. But then he was very happy to have, because it was a great companion for her. And then at the end, it was nice for her as well.
So she was happy to have the little... Who gave the names to the dogs?
I did give the name. I gave him the name Pucci. It was a very popular name in those days for little dogs.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. These dogs' names, they follow the fashion names. And in those days, Pucci was a fashionable name for a little dog.
So I wanted to ask you some more questions about kind of where you lived in Italy, because as a child, you kind of moved around quite a lot, didn't you?
Sure.
I've got a little map here that kind of plans out where you live. Do you wanna give us a bit of a explanation?
Yes, with pleasure. So I was born in Merano, which is a middle-sized city next to Bolzano, in the northeast of Italy, close to the Austrian border, to Brenner Pass. And that in this part of Italy, actually the language is German. Italy is much less. The
Italian,
people, speaks much more German than Italian. In fact, I was talking German only because my mother was of German language. She came from a German family, an Austrian family. And so I had my first school years. I mean, the really first one, because at 6 I left Merano, and I could speak only German, so it was quite funny. Eventually, when I landed in Italy, where my father was moved into Terni, this is again another middle-sized city close to Rome, in Umbria region, beautiful region. And so it was a bit of a shock. And I was at that days in the second primary school.
Second year of primary school?
Yeah. So, and everybody was talking Italian. I was the only one not talking Italian. And so, but I managed, it was okay. Then eventually my grandmother came from Austria, and she asked me Tonci, because Tonci was my nickname, which is Tony in Hungarian. My grandfather was Hungarian, and he gave me this Tonci nickname. And my grandmother asked me, Tonci, can you speak now Italian? I said, oh yes, Granny, sure. And I came down with a terrible swearing in Italian.
Okay. I mean, she was happy about that. Yeah. So that's what you learned in Terni. How long were you in Terni for?
In Terni, we were there for 5 years. Then we moved. Okay. So we moved in.
So from 6 till 11? Yeah,
correct. And then from there, we moved into Forlì.
And when did you, so what year was it when you moved to Forlì?
Sorry?
What year was it when you moved to Forlì?
In Forlì was 1956, in November.
1956?
Yeah, before landing in Forlì, I spent about a couple of months in Brescia, next to some family friends.
Brescia is
Because,
somewhere over here.
yeah, the Brescia is on the Gardasee, Garda Lake.
Here.
Yeah, yeah. There.
And then you moved to Forlì,
And then Forlì.
And then that's where the Asiatic flu caught up with you.
Yeah, correct. The year after we arrived there in 57.
57. And do you know how many people in Italy, or how it spread in Italy? Was it the north and the south, or just the south?
No, I think it was quite evenly spread all over Italy. And I think there were about 8,000 casualties in these days, as far as I can remember.
That's pretty low compared to today. How many? Yeah. That's good. I've also got I got some historical kind of background. I've got a pic. I found this really nice picture. So sorry, the date is in 57. It was kind of Italy was experiencing an unprecedented period of prosperity known as the boom. Or the economical miracle, and even the Daily Mail, which is a really known British newspaper, reported with great surprise about the growth and success of the Italian economy. So this is from the article, quotes, "The level of efficiency and prosperity of the production potential of Italy constitutes one of the economic miracles of Europe, of the European continent." And so this is kind of a nice picture. I thought kind of sums up Italy, doesn't it? In a way, in the late
in a couple of years, I had one as well. In 1963, I had one. This is Vespa. I had the Lambretta, which is the Italian, the competitor to Vespa.
And I think,
yeah,
and I think it was kind of sign of the prosperity, you know, that everybody could finally have a Vespa. It's a pity that now we know how bad they are for the environment. But in those years, there was kind of this hope, wasn't there, that went with consumption, I think.
Yeah.
And this is another picture which kind of reminds me of the old Italy. Like, you can still find some bars that look like this, and I just thought this was a really nice image, because we often go for kind of a drink or a snack in one of these bars, maybe in a little town outside of Bologna. So do you remember kind of, does this remind you of Forlì at the time, or did you?
Yeah, definitely. These were the coffee bars where we used to spend some time. Also with my father, he used to take us there for an ice cream or whatever, and was a fantastic atmosphere. And one very similar to this one was a real osteria, where you can have you could have wine, and then I remember also you could have the pecorino and salame and so on.
So pecorino and kind of cold meat and cheese.
Yeah, in fact, and this sort of color of the wall definitely is the real color of all these places, osteria, coffee bars, and so on. Definitely, the color is this one, 100%.
Yeah, it's also the counter, the chairs and the tables.
In fact.
Yeah.
And the little motorbike in front, definitely, 100% is.
You see that?
Let me see. Looks like a Guzzi stornello.
Wow, you know more than I do.
Yeah.
But also, I get really, like, the numbers, like these numbers, all the kind of houses in Italy have a number. And this is really nostalgic for me, when I go back to Italy, these, you know, every building, every house or
Yeah.
every door.
Till now, yes, correct.
Still now has these numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
Let me see that this Coca-Cola is a little bit too much advanced.
Really?
Because Coca-Cola arrived much later than in those coffee shops.
Really?
We used to have Aranciata San Pellegrino, Zoff, which is a liqueur.
Kids used to have liquor.
Yeah, it's a sort of liquor. The ex-liquor, Zabov.
Oh, it's like, I think here it's called something like avocado
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah.
But could children have it? I don't know, because in England, children don't have alcohol.
No, we do. No, but was just outside of the coffee shop.
Oh, do you mean as an advertisement?
Yeah, as an advertisement,
okay.
correct. Yeah.
So when do you reckon that Coke kind of colonized Italy?
Yeah, is una stonatura, a little stonatura, this Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it doesn't fit, does it? At all?
Not yet.
Not yet.
In a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like when I tell people that the first McDonald's opened in Italy when I was 16. So that's in 1996. Everybody kind of doesn't believe it.
Correct.
So this is kind of the setting. We've got, the young man on the scooters, and we've got the old man still in the bars. And then I found this article from 1957. Let me just quickly translate it. So at the top over here, it says preoccupanti notizie sull'andamento dell'epidemia, and it translates roughly as worrying news on the developments of the epidemic. And then underneath the main title goes 14 morti per l'influenza asiatica in soli 3 giorni nella provincia di Roma. And it says 14 dead from the with the Asian flu in only 3 days in the province of Rome. So yeah, just and then we've got some other news just say, I don't know what newspaper this is because it doesn't say.
Top left, no, I can't read it.
No, but there's a link. Yeah, well, I've kind of put all the links, so if people want to go and to the source, they're more than welcome to go there. And yeah, so all the images have also got links, so you can just go and look at them and reference them. And then after, underneath there's this little kind of subtitle, and it says nello stesso periodo sono stati denunciati 4.728 casi di malattia, altri decessi ad Alghero, Brunico e Pratola dell'Igna. These are all places that, well, I've heard of Alghero, but not all the other ones.
Yeah.
Sempre grave l'epidemia in Sicilia, rinviata in altre province l'apertura delle scuole. So we're having some of the similar problems. So it says that there have been 4,728 confirmed cases in the whole of Italy. And there've been deaths in Alghero, which is a city in Sardinia, Brunico. Where's Brunico?
Brunico is north of Bozen, on the way to Austria.
Okay, so it's close to where you were born.
Yeah, very close.
And then Pratola Peligna, I have no idea where that is.
But I don't really know.
And apparently the epidemic was worse in Sicily, and even then the schools were closed. So here it says that they are, because it's really topical, because here in England it's just been announced that schools will reopen only in September. They were supposed to reopen in June, but it's not going to happen now. So here at the same time it says that the schools are now going to not open, that they're going to be open later on in the year. So yeah. Do you remember reading this in your newspaper when you were 9?
No, honestly not.
Yeah, no, I was just joking. And then I found this other really interesting picture, which just made me think a lot about, about what's happening today. And
that I think was the Spanish fever.
are you sure?
Yeah, I think that is early 19, because the Spanish fever was in 1916.
Before the war, I think it was 1909 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yes.
Or just after the war, you're right. I think just after the war.
And there your grandfather was a hero, one of the doctors who supported the population. He remained in Barrafranca to fight the Spanish flu with the population, because most of the doctors, they just flew away the moment the Spanish fever attacked the country, and while your grandfather stayed there and saved a lot of lives, and he cured a lot of people. Yeah.
So just for people listening, Barrafranca is where my dad's family is from.
Yeah, Sicily, just in the middle.
So that's your father's side is from Sicily,
Yeah,
where your mom is from Austria.
In fact.
Yeah, I just think this was a really interesting picture, and it's what we're kind of dealing with today to some extent, and what we have to get used to. So maybe this could be kind of a hopeful end to our conversation in some sense, because you know, if it ended then and people were able to go back to a normal life, we might even be able to do it now. It might take a while, but it can happen. I'm going to stop sharing, and just is there anything that you'd like to add to our conversation? Or
well, I think we said most of everything of what just I don't know what was in those days in 57 in Forlì. Well, I remember that I used to visit, not during the flu, but before and after. In our building, there was another family with children of our age, and the father was also an officer in the army, and we used to play together there in Forlì.
Okay.
That's all, yeah.
And he also got ill with the flu, or?
Yes, there as well. There were 4 in the family, and all 4 they were all sick. Yeah, all of them.
Okay. So I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you so much for
Thanks to you.
Agreeing to kind of chat with us.
I hope I was helpful.
Yeah, you certainly gave us a little bit to dream about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Italy in the 50s. So I'm gonna thank you all for watching, and you can find more resources and activities on our website, Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitter page. And for us, from the family Ippolito, it's all for now.